Ladies and gentlemen, I officially welcome you to the session, and the House is sitting at this right juncture, both physically and honorable members who are observing us virtually or online. Without wasting much time, allow me call the mover of the first motion. I am certain all of us have the order paper. However, the clerk is going to read for us the motion, and we shall thereafter receive the mover of this motion. I thank you.
First on the order paper is motion on the impact of school closures on young people's education trajectory and career planning.
Thank you so much. May we then receive the mover of the first motion at this right juncture?
My name is Honorable Lameka Matsko. I come from Sembabule. I'm a member of the District Youth Council, and I'm a member of this House. I'm here to move a motion for the resolution of Youth Parliament on the impact of closure of schools on young people's education, career planning, and declaration for recommendation for strategic reopening of schools.
Thank you so much, Honorable Lameka Matsko. At this juncture, may we have the seconder of the motion?
Right Honorable Speaker, protocol observed. Since education is a pertinent sector in our country, it is equally prudent for us as young people to discuss about it. Honorable members, before you, Mrs. Mike Mugarura from Gomba, a district youth leader and a member of this Honorable August House today. Honorable members, it is, like I've said, it is prudent for us to discuss about education. Since COVID outbreak, education was one of the institutions in which we are locked to avoid the spread of COVID-19 because the whole world was shocked by the pandemic. We were hit badly as Uganda, and our young sisters and our brothers were poorly affected, as schools being the source of knowledge and wisdom, as well as it is source of income to other people. So its closure has badly affected the country. Right, members, allow me second the motion on behalf of the August House that the government does whatever it takes, running from other countries in the region, to open up the education sector in Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member. Can we have the justification from the mover of this motion?
Right, Honorable Speaker. Behind every school, there is a safe child, a learning child. When schools close, children are at risk with marginalization of those ones in the remote areas, paying a very heavy price than those who can afford to pay internet, to study online. I want to bring to your attention that even some of the children that were sent home, not all of them that they are not taking part in learning. Some of them actually went abroad. So I want to bring it to the attention of this Honorable August House that we resolve that the government should open the learning institutions in the immediate possible ways so that the future of the young people and the future of this country is secured. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Matsko, once again. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of this House, the debate is fully open. And we shall have 3 people, like I said, to debate on this motion, and each one will have less than or exactly 3 minutes at most. I hope the rules are clear. Ladies first. Thank you, Honorable Julia. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and the honorable members in the August House. My name is it in order for me to remove my mask?
For the sake of COVID, please leave it on.
It is justified for the government to consider opening of schools as per the justification given by the previous honorable member of the August House. Why? Because about everything that is going on, we see that even when the government chooses to prioritize vaccination of students and teachers, it would be much more feasible and applicable if schools were open, because we would have this section of the people in specific areas, so the government would target them in when the students and teachers are in one kind of environment. And also, there are very many evils that have come with the closure of schools, the teenage pregnancies. Fine, as we look at handling how we get to have these teenage girls go back to school even after giving birth, one of the ways to deter us from having more or increased cases of teenage pregnancies is to have these schools open. Because like earlier stated, schools are playing a very big role as far as keeping the girl child away from the very many vices of sexual manipulation and violence. To go on, the government should consider, we have most of these institutions studying online, which is one of the systems the government has advocated for in this course as far as education is concerned. And yet again, we have the newly introduced 14% internet tax that is also making it hard for the students to actually have access to continuously keep up with attaining this kind of education. If it is possible, we could have maybe the parliament or whoever is in charge to revise this tax to either reduce it or to try and make sure there are other possible ways to help the students that are right now studying online and they're using data, because it is much more expensive. To go on, the government can also consider reducing on the tax that they put on private institutions. The private institutions right now are charging high tuition on students, not because they do not want to reduce, but as far as we have the existence of these taxes on these institutions, there is no way these institutions can put into consideration to waive the tuition for their students, even when they are studying online. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to also notice that to bring it to the House that there are very many roles that not only the government can play, but other stakeholders in our country as far as making sure we adopt to the new normal that has been brought by COVID. And I would like to notice or to bring it to our attention that over the years, we've had some of the institutions try to make sure that students have access to the different online systems without paying data, which is not applicable unless these stakeholders are playing their role as far as this is concerned, because it is a bit of expensive. But as I conclude, I would like to implore the whole community and also bring it to the notice of this August House that we are living in a time where we students are thinking that education is not being prioritized by the government, because as we speak, there is not yet out a clear plan as far as reopening of schools is concerned. So we would like to have that or from the relevant authorities. And lastly, I know I just want to say that that the Education Ministry can consider very many options to allow reopening and students to go back to school. Among the very many ways, we can consider the shifts. The Education Ministry has over time considered only essential students, which has created a big gap of students, very many students not knowing when exactly they will ever report back, like those in P5 and other classes. But we would like to implore them to consider shifts, and shifts would, in this case, make it easier for classes, more than one class or more than the classes that have been considered earlier, to go back to school. Other than that, I beg to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You've taken advantage being the first speaker on this debate. However, we strictly remind you to catch time. We had a hand here. There's a second debater, and then we shall have, wow, there are two hands, but we had, but since it's the first motion, we're going to have honorables. Remember to mention your names, please. Did you? You forgot. Julia Humza? Muhumza Julia. We shall have Honorable Kajumbi, and then we shall have Honorable and one last hand for this motion. I thank you.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Kajumbi Frank Sibala, Chairperson, District Youth Council, Kalungu District. On this motion, by the time the government is scheduled to open the schools in May the next year, the Ministry of Health should continue prioritizing the vaccination of teachers and learners above 18 years of age to be confident enough to allow government to open the schools at all levels without repeatable closure of the schools, and will provide a safety net to all learners and teachers. Second, Ministry of Education should organize training for the teachers, understanding the COVID-19 pandemic or disease, classroom protocols, reporting and referral mechanism to create attractive learning environment to the students. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Kajumbi Frank.
All right, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to make my contribution to this particular motion. And in my view, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, the question at hand is really a question of a CBA. As a nation, we need to do a cost-benefit analysis.
Honorable, the name.
Oh, my apologies, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Howard Mwesigwa from Kampala here. Yes, so on the CBA, honorable colleagues, we need to do a cost-benefit analysis. What is, firstly, the cost of keeping schools closed? Secondly, what's the cost of reopening these schools? Once we have that conversation, then we're able to weigh what can we bear best. Because the idea is when we have children at home or students or pupils at home, we are protecting them. But are we really protecting them? Because the question then is, are students safer in school or safer outside school, right? So when we have this conversation and this discourse, we get to understand where exactly should we be basing our discourse on. And in my view, Right Honorable Speaker, I think we need to reopen schools. Why? Because the cost of reopening schools is much less or is lesser than the cost of keeping schools closed. On the second facet, how do we then proceed in these circumstances? Because this is the new normal. Are we going to keep schools closed forever? Because the students who have been home for 2 years, they're forgetting which class they're in. How do we salvage them, right? So we need to do a CBA. Ultimately, I think we need to benchmark on states. It could be fallacious to probably benchmark on European states, but we could benchmark on African states that have chosen to reopen schools. What measures have they put in place? For instance, we have Kenya here. Recently, all their students reported to school. How did they do it? We're facing the same pandemic. Whereas here, we are keeping all schools closed, and proceeding like, there's no more education in this country. And yet, the future of the young people in this country is fundamentally oscillating around education. Without education, the future of this country is in shambles, and we need to pay attention to it. So the final one is really on the fallacious bit or on the fallacy of online learning. Because we assume that the penetration of internet has gone across the country, and the question of accessibility and affordability. All that is not working out. So that leaves us with only one alternative, and that is to reopen schools. Why? Because the cost of keeping these schools closed is much higher, is hefty, compared to the cost of reopening these schools. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member. Can we have the fourth speaker? The fourth Honorable Member, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Yes, on this first motion, it is true that the pandemic has been disadvantageous to the young people. We have to accept that. Instead of keeping on lamenting time and again, we have to come up with solutions. And here I come. I suggest that The stakeholders, let them come in this issue. How? Let them first of all identify or help the learners identify their skills and potentials. Because we have to believe that some of them have already dropped out of schools. When they open up their schools, some of them will not go back to school. But then as leaders, as stakeholders, as teachers and the government, how can we help these young people to catch up with the world? I therefore suggest that we have to come in and help these young people to come up with, to know their skills, to know their potentials. Here the government last will come in to help them or finance in this. Then secondly, I call upon the government to increase on the budget of cost sharing in different institutions or different levels of education. Here I mean that parents no longer have money to take back the children to school, even when they open up the schools. So here I come saying that the government is coming to different institutions, primary, secondary, and universities, even the tertiary institutions, to reduce, to increase on the cost of sharing so that parents can be able to afford some little money top up on what the government has issued to these institutions. I can take an instance here. Come to Nakasongola, because I come from Nakasongola. You find that tuition is too high. We've got to one technical institution or one vocational institution, and that is Sasila Technical or Vocational Learning. Here you find that in the whole district, we've got to one. What does it mean? Young people have to travel long distances to come and attain knowledge, to come and attain schools in this one vocational training school. Therefore, parents have got no money. I therefore call upon the government to construct more vocational training centers so that these young people cannot travel long distances. Because if the distances are too long, it will need these young people to come nearer to these vocational schools. What does it mean? More funding, they will need more money to rent houses, which money is not there. Therefore, briefly, those are my points. I'm sorry, lastly, I call upon the government to increase on its monitoring of schools. Monitoring is there, but for sure it is lacking. When it is there, I'm sure that learners will move on with their studies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Juliet from Nakasongola. Ladies and gentlemen, at this right moment, I call upon the mover of the motion to come and make a prayer. Unless we have any online submissions, please. Do we have any? Remember, please, your name and where you come from, or any titles.
My name is Luga Vincent Nsamba, and I'm the chairperson of the Entebbe Youth Ridge, and I come from Entebbe.
Yes, honorable member, proceed.
Yes, I want to start by thanking the organizers for being able to put up this platform and convocating all the youth from the country to be able to engage into this healthy space.
It's okay.
I will start with how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected us, the young children who have been locked up at home. It is not lost on me if we to take an excursion down our memory lane. We will be able to recognize that 500 girls has been the registered case of teenage pregnancies in Moyo in a period of only 10 months. In Chitugum, they are worried they might not have a girl child back to school because of this lockdown. It is not lost on me that our neighbors have dropped and have not kept on this decision of locking children at home. Sadly enough, in Uganda, we have remained on that decision. And most sadly, in Uganda, not all kids are at home. We are aware that the sacrosanct and the class A has its children in school still continuing, and the rest of us, we are still at home. If I'm to talk about the online learning that they are trying to build, it is also a rasta cult. It is just a lackluster because it's only on its arrival, it is just dead. Because if it is to prevail, then the 12% tax on internet won't allow it to continue. And we should not forget that we have children who live in the agristic areas of Uganda. Those are the rural areas. With their unstable network,
Can you put me through, please?
they
Honorable Member,
cannot be able to afford this.
Honorable Member,
So personally, I remain frustrated with the continuous stay of children at school without any orchestrated plan of government intervention on the education sector. I beg to submit.
Thank you much, Honorable Member, via online. I want to put a few things across. One, using words that are not in the vocabulary, rakas, taketo, something. I didn't understand what the Honorable Member meant. So we want to use language that we can all comprehend. Two, let's keep this debate within the jurisdiction of Central Region. References from Moyo and Gulu would really not so much draw us to the picture of the business today. However, I thank you for that submission and your point has reached home. Any other one? Member? There isn't. And there goes the first motion. May we have the mover of this very motion to come and make a prayer so that we can call this motion quits.
The Right Honorable Speaker, the members of the Central Youth Parliament, I thank you for submitting in very fundamental deliberations concerning the learning of the young people at home, concerning the future of this country. My prayer is that this House resolves all our recommendations through the Right Honorable Speaker, that the government considers them and takes note as a voice of young people from the many voiceless people who are seated at home in the villages, in Gobia Mgenyi, where I come from in Sembaule. I request that we believe we will have done our part as young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Rameka Matsko. At this right moment, honorable members, allow me to declare that the motion has been officially closed. And the next session is to vote for the motion or against the motion. And I want to bring to your attention that we won't be clapping, we won't be standing, neither raise hands. We will all just say aye for those who are voting for the motion, or say nay to those voting no to the motion. And then we shall declare which group has taken the motion. So, honorable members, we are voting for the motion right now. Those voting in favor of the motion, I hope I was heard clearly, are saying aye, and those voting against the motion or not in favor of the motion are saying nay. So may I see those voting in favor of the motion? Louder. Aye. And those saying, voting against the motion? Not a chance, not any. Should I get convinced that there isn't any person? Therefore, honorable members of this parliament, those in favor of the motion have taken it. I thank you so much.